Hello, everyone. Stacy Casson here, also known as the Clarity Concierge. For those of you who can't see me, I'm a very tan woman with short, wavy salt and pepper hair. I have a yellow flower in my hair and a dark blue and gray kind of splashy dress. And as we like to begin, or as I like to begin on day 22, can you believe it? 22 and 7 more days to go of these lives. So take advantage of them because after February, they're done. So let's start the evening by taking a deep breath in and exhale. Deep breath in and exhale. Deep breath in and exhale. Okay, we will begin with our Pokemon card of the day. Let's see what we get for today. Get the Grass Energy Pokemon card. This is a green card with a glowing green sphere and a black leaf. And for me, this is about grounding, getting back to nature, doing things that are nourishing. The green for me is like associated with the heart and getting rest and self-compassion, self-care, which is I'm thinking of like some water to hydrate. So yeah, let's see. Water fairies will help me out today. Um, so yeah, that's what comes to mind for me with the Grass Energy Pokemon card. It is evening for me. It might be the afternoon for you, or I don't know what time zone you're in. If you want that in the comments, that'd be great to hear. For my night owls, maybe you're on the West Coast and there's still time in the day to go out in nature, take a walk, do some gardening. I have stevia seeds I keep forgetting to plant, and I'm trying out an experiment with blueberries. So wish me luck. Hopefully they'll grow and I'll have blueberries, and that'll be two things I can grow. So far, I've not killed scallion. My rosemary's questionable, but yeah, definitely trying out new things with the Grass Energy Pokemon card. Today I made my own granola bars, but I've been doing that for. If you have not followed my friend Sarah June Sabo, Saebbo, I think is what it shows up on LinkedIn. She's been doing really good series about food and how food is tied into white supremacy and genocide. Yay, my water fairies have come through. Thank you so much, water fairies. Mm-mm-mm. All right. I don't see any questions in the chat, so we'll do my favorite one. We'll do a basic 4 questions. So if you don't know what I like the 4 questions about reflecting on what's happening right now. So let's see. We get the Fighting Energy Pokemon card. It's an orange card with a orange sphere and a black fist, and I definitely feel like fighting when I get my homeowner's insurance bill. I mean, I guess I should be grateful that I have a home, but it makes me mad because it keeps going up. And what do we get for it? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. So that's what I'm fighting up about. But I'm still getting, for me, with this card, this idea of resistance and putting up a resistance against things that are just not human friendly, putting up a resistance against the injustice of the world. And if we continue to do this, they're afraid of us. So if you're in the fight that's pro humanity, if you're not pro humanity, this is probably not the talk for you. Team pro humanity keep up the fight because they're afraid of us. Keep calling every day, writing, all those things. So keep up the fight. That's what comes to mind for me. And what's the challenge with this fighting and resistance? We get another fighting card. Yeah, sometimes it's exhausting to do all this fighting. And I think, and this one has a little swoosh. It's the same card, but it's got like a little comet swoosh. And I think sometimes maybe there can be infighting with how we are trying to do things. My girlfriend calls it this idea of ideological purity. And we just see cases where never again means only if you fit certain criteria or characteristics. So there's definitely fighting about what we're fighting for and who we're fighting with. And I don't think that helps us, but I'm not someone that has had that lived experience, to be very frank with you. It's probably a privilege to just sit here and intellectualize about fighting. Um, but I mean, for me personally, when I have gone that route, I usually feel bad about it. So for me personally, I continue to try and figure out how to de-escalate situations and not feed that fighting in that particular way. Um, had a talk with a family member, and they thought this idea of peaceful resistance was ridiculous, and that it made it easier for people to be murdered by the oppressors. I don't know. I don't know what that looks like because, again, I've not been in that situation. Um, yeah, I don't have an answer for that, but I don't know if violence is the answer. Yeah, I really don't know if violence is the answer. It just takes something out of us, to me. I mean, are there times that I feel like it should be throat punch Thursday? Absolutely. But then I think about, what does it really take to do that to another human being? And it's ugly. And it's something we're all capable of doing. We're all capable of doing horrible things. Most of us don't do that, um, because we're, I don't know, humans. And we recognize that that's really not good in the long run, and it harms ourselves as well. So I don't know what could help in that situation. And we have Numo. Numo is a camel, and he's walking like Honey Badger don't give a crap. It's a fire type Pokemon, and it's walking in maybe high desert, but basically, since it's a fire type Pokemon, um, all that fire and lava builds up. Try to read what's on the card. The magma in its body reaches 2200 degrees Fahrenheit. Pump gets smaller when it uses fire type moves. So again, it costs us energy to erupt. So with our little camel rump, it costs energy. And so in this particular video, I mean card, Numa looks unbothered. Like, yeah, I have this, but I don't have to use it. He's kind of walking away to me, like given that the side eye. So I think it's thinking about, when do we want to engage? Is it worth that energy, and how is the best way to engage in challenging situations? Do we really want to combust? Because there is a cost for that when we blow up, or just let the fire burn in those particular situations. Like sometimes we choose it. We choose to fight, and what does that get? What does that get us? Like, I don't enjoy I personally don't enjoy that kind of conflict, and I'd rather use my energy for something else. Like, well, I'm not going to tell them because it's not my story to tell, but when there's a situation and you're upset about it and the situation's resolved, but you want to keep blaming the other person, it's like I don't want to put my energy towards that. That's just what comes to mind for me. And then like what's something we can do to move forward? And we get charge bug. This is, it looks like a square caterpillar with kind of, it looks like a caterpillar train car, and it's an electric type Pokemon. And the little notes on this particular card: from the food it digests, it generates electricity and it stores its energy in the electric sac. So, again, yeah, I'm getting this vibe of storing our energy, recharging. Even though this is a electric Pokemon, it kind of looks like a plant as well, or maybe just because it's a bug, it just reminds me of nature. It looks like it's pretty low on the ground. So I think that ties into our earlier card about finding things to regenerate. And the lightning type Pokemon for me, they're about finding things that bring us joy, finding things that empower us, that we remember who we are and stand in that power and not give away our joy. Don't let people steal our joy. So, those are some of the musings that come to mind for me. I don't see any questions in the chat, but if you have one, please go ahead and put them in and join the conversation, because I yesterday was really cool. We had a lot of excellent insights from our guests. But I don't see any questions, so we'll continue with my next favorite random to do. And again, if you're using your own tools at home, these are good ways to reflect on questions. So this is the Tigro technique. This is a coaching model, and it's supposed to help when your clients really don't know what to talk about. So if you have your own tools, please feel free to pull them out and use them. So let's start with a topic. Wow, this one keeps coming up as well. This is a Steel Energy Pokemon card. It's a gray card with a glowing steel sphere that has an inverted triangle with brackets around the corners. And this one has a comet swoosh. And what's been coming to mind for me in this particular case is boundaries. Steel is also a good conductor. So maybe in your situation, you're trying to get with the flow. And if we tie that back to the Charjabug card that we had before, what's a good way to hold all that power, right? So I don't know if steel's a good container for electricity, but I know it's a good conductor. I'm not a physicist or a chemist. I don't know which branch that would be. So for me, a good topic might be boundaries. So thinking about the boundaries, where are there places in your life that you need boundaries? I was tired, so I came home. I could have done other things, but really all I wanted to do was go to bed and take a nap, which I did, which was amazing. And if I had done that, then and compromised and said, "Oh no, I'll go do this," then I probably would have just fallen asleep at the wheel somewhere or something like that. So we need boundaries to conserve our energy and keep up the ability to resist and to fight. So that's it for me. You might have a different interpretation. And so when we're thinking about boundaries, what are some of those goals? We have a fire energy Pokemon, and this is an orange cardigan with a red orange sphere and a flame. And I think fire and steel go together. Like you get steel from burning off other things. And fire for me is also about following your creativity, your passion, things that are more sensual or something that is embodied. Simple things like, are you tasting your food? Do you actually know what you're drinking tastes like? How do things feel? Have you ever seen somebody? Sometimes when my kids go off to school, I don't know what they look like. I hope nobody ever steals my kids because I couldn't tell you what they look. Just kind of count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, they're all there. So really, and this kind of ties into some of the ideas we've had this week about being present and here, not just intellectually knowing something, but let's sit and understanding what that looks like. And I think that's a journey I personally am still on. There's a new moon coming up, another opportunity. I think the new moon, you let go of things. I mean, you don't have to do anything, you don't have to follow the moon at all. But I like ideas of what are those things to release in my life that are not serving me. And a lot of it is the talk in my head. Yesterday, we had a really good talk about this idea of self worth, and you have to do the work and realize it for yourself. Other people maybe propping you up might be a temporary relief, but if you don't truly believe it in your heart of hearts, it's not going to be something that sticks. So, a goal for me might be releasing some things. I've been trying to declutter for years now, honestly. Progress, and then I take it all back because I'm not dealing with the root cause, which is probably I don't feel safe and secure. And in this world that we're living in, that's probably an easy reason to not feel safe and secure. But I mean, when you think about it, anything could happen at any time. Even if you are not in a war-torn country. I always say I could get hit by a bus. So I'm going to be immortal because that is literally the only way that I'm allowed to die is to get hit by a bus because anything else is just, it's not going to be poetic justice. So it can't happen. I'm just going to avoid all the bugs and I'm going to be immortal and live forever. You can try it out too. Okay, so then how close am I to that reality? Well, wow, a lot of energy cards today. So this is the Lightning Energy Pokemon card. It's a yellow card with a glowing yellow sphere and lightning bolt. And for me, lightning is all about empowerment and things that bring me joy. Therefore, I mean, if I reflect on the other card, my art brings me joy. Being creative brings me joy. So the reality is, I make the decisions about where I want to spend my time. And tonight I chose to watch a C drama with my kid, but I could have spent the time drawing. I decided to spend some time napping today, reading a book. I'm going to read a book for my book club. So I caught up on that. The yellow Pokemon card is about, for me, joy and empowerment. So I think I'm ready to go and move forward, like on a scale from what my goals are to how do I want to move forward. I think I'm pretty ready to do that. And you, again, can reflect on this in your own life. Maybe you have a different interpretation of what that means. And again, you might be using your own tools, which is totally fine. But those are things you can reflect. And this is again kind of quick. I get a lot more out of this when I journal about it and just sit with it and reflect about it. Today I actually journaled this morning without using any tools and just wrote what came into my head. And so I might reflect on that today with you all live. And so then, what are our opportunities? And we get the Tower of Darkness. This one's kept coming up too as well. This in the game is like a training tower. You're seeing a pagoda. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-story pagoda with Yushifa, which is a bear Pokemon, on the top. And like I said, I just thought it was wild that I didn't make the connection between a tower card, and in traditional tarot, there is a tower card. And that's basically things falling apart. And sometimes we do have to just tear things up. If you want to plant a seed, you have to break up the soil, you have to remove the rocks, you have to remove the seeds, maybe add topsoil, enrich it so that you have the ideal place to plant your seeds. I'm also still reading back to Entangled Life now, about, and it's actually really terrifying, that how industrial food is grown, we maybe have 100 left in some places, because we how those techniques are, again, they're very extractive. We're not doing things like crop rotation, and a lot of the interventions that we've had have displaced some of what is more of a natural ecosystem that we still don't understand, according to this book. It's by Merlin Sheldrake. And there is a connection between plants and mycorrhizomes. They're the fungal entities, and a lot of the times these are entangled with the roots. They're part of the root structures. These are networked over vast spaces sometimes. It's very interesting. They're kind of like the plumbing, but they're more than that. But I haven't finished reading the book. So when I'm thinking about breaking things up, and even our understanding or what we think something is, in this book, they were talking about having a very plant-centric point of view, because plants are essential for us as humans, versus maybe looking at these interactions from the fungal point of view. Or if we looked at this earth from the animal's point of view, like my friend Sarah June, in her book, I have walked 100 miles in a hard rain. I think that's the name of the book. Sarah June, don't kill me. But by the Midwest History Project. And part of that story is told from the perspective of the land. And we just center ourselves so often. And what is the impact of our actions on the very land that we live on? And how we are, in a way, playing God with some of this chemistry, this alchemy that happens between the land on a really fundamental level that we're unable to see. And I love to extrapolate weird things. But again, we've had a lot of cards about those underlying structures that are beneath the surface that we literally don't see. And how do they impact us? In this book, Entangled Lives, they're kind of talking about, do the plants associate with the fungi, or do the fungi, whatever you want to call them, are they like farming the plants? There's evidence that they farm bacteria, and it's just fascinating. And these are like little tiny things, but they have such an impact on our lives that we don't know. There was another book out there, Parasite Rex, and how many of us may actually be under the influence of parasites. It's certain parasites, it's ones that you usually find with cats, have allegedly, there's conjecture that it makes certain people bolder. I don't know, but even being hungry will impact judicial decisions. So, there's a lot of things that we're probably not aware of, especially if we're working on autopilot, for example. So I think that's a good opportunity to shake things up, shake up the paradigms, shake up old ways of thinking about situations. And this kind of ties back into earlier ruminations on what that victim mentality looks like for me. I can't speak for anyone else, but you can reflect on these things yourself. Is that a way to change up your situation? And so, what's one small step to go forward? And we get the lightning energy Pokemon card again. Okay, so cool. Continue to empower and find joy. And what actual thing might I be able to do that would help me find joy and help pick up the pieces? And we get Magneton, another electric energy Pokemon. This is kind of like if Voltron were magnets and there was only three of them. So these are the Magnemites, and they are little round spheres with U-shaped magnets for arms, and these have come together to make a giant Magneton. So it's thinking about what I want to attract in my life. It might be for me taking time to write down and get clear about, sorry, get clear about my goals and what I want to accomplish and why I want to accomplish and who does it matter to, those kind of things for me. Hang on. That might be one way to go about it. And what's another option? Maybe something tied into fun, since we have the joy card. So what might be a fun thing to do? And we get the switch Pokemon cards. Switch it up. These are two Pokeballs and I guess a carrier with a cord attached, and one's being swapped out for another one. What are some places or ways I can switch up my routine? Maybe I will have something different for lunch instead of, maybe I'll go for a walk. Maybe I'll blow bubbles. Maybe I will try and solve problems visually or use my Legos to try and figure out bigger pictures for the things I tackle at work. Just try different ways. And we talked about that in another live, how to get more creative at work or in my life, how to have fun at work. I think it's really important to bring fun and joyful aspects to our lives. It's not always easy, but I definitely would prefer to bring lightheartedness to life because it's heavy. It's heavy sometimes. And I don't know, like, I don't mean lightheartedness like gallows humor. I think that sometimes is a way blunt and not fully experience life. But if we accept everything, maybe I'm going overboard, but if we accept everything as a gift, when my husband died a couple of years ago, I thought it was a really horrible, terrible gift. And mind you, it still sucks. Like, it just sucks. But I felt like what I received out of it, and again, I'm not a things happen for a reason kind of person, but for my way to understand it was this gift of compassion for other people. Just knowing that even though my world was falling apart, the tide still rolled in, the tide still rolled out. These were still being born. People were celebrating and having parties. Like, the world doesn't stop, and it shouldn't stop. And that's how, for me, that's how I resist, is not letting them steal my joy. Like, for me, this year has been ruthlessly protecting my joy. Just because things are happening doesn't mean that that has to define me. There's been, what, we started off the year with even more challenges. However, if I let that define me, my life, then I feel like what's the point of being here? I have one precious life to live. And I'm also trying to recognize that there's what, almost 7 billion other precious lives. My precious life is not more important than what else is. I'm not saying that. But why am I here? I think that's something that we all kind of struggle with. What's our purpose? What is our reason for being here? So those are the things that I'm thinking about today. And if you again have any questions, please put them in the comments. If you've never been to one of my lives before, how this works, it's asked me almost anything because I'm not a fortune teller, even though I do use intuitive tools. I think they're a good way to bypass the gatekeeper of your brain on keeping you safe and pushing away change. And we're doing this through play. We're just having some fun, a little funny haha. Nothing serious, but as time goes by, it will it will come back to you and you'll be like, "Oh, this makes sense. I remember that lady talking about this thing." And that's kind of how it works to me, but it could be different for you. Okay, I don't see any questions in the comments yet. I found something on the interwebs and I really don't remember where it was from. It was pretty interesting about anger, so forgive me, whoever I'm taking this from. I really don't remember what this article was. I don't think I saved it, but it was something about anger and having a conversation with it. I mean, I had a lot to be angry about. I finished a book about the Cursing Mommy's Book of Days, and she's just angry all the time at all these things that are happening. So let's explore anger with Pokemon. And again, once I figure this out, it's all I know. It's tag improvised weapon, but I really don't remember what I screenshotted this from. But these are not my original thoughts. So the first question was, what sparked your anger? And this is, ooh, Incineroar. Incineroar is a giant armored samurai cat. It's a fire Pokemon. Does it does the consultant have something to add? It's a wrestler. It looks like a samurai. It's got like the little samurai helmet on its head. Um, okay, well, Incineroar's hair looks like a samurai, and this is like a fancy Incineroar card. It's really pretty and sparkly. And what what got my anger today was my homeowner's insurance bill. It just makes me mad because you can never claim on it because then they'll drop you. I live in a state where hurricanes a lot, even though I personally haven't been impacted by a hurricane. Oh, maybe this will be easier to see outside of the folder. Not really. And so we pay more and we get less coverage, and then they just dip and leave the state. Even one of my other thing insurance through want to leave. So I don't know what's got you angry today. That's what's got me angry today. That's what sparked my anger. Well, technically, I'm not angry right now because I can't live in a constant state of rage. I'm not the Hulk. That's just not my jam. I don't. I'm like Florida. I can't stay mad for long. But with this, what truth has been violated? So again, for you, your anger might be different, but for me, we have cast form. It's adorable. It looks like it's got a little round head with raccoon eyes and a little, I guess, sprout hair. And its body looks like two little tadpoles together. It's a weather teller. And I don't know if this is tied into our stupid hurricanes here. Sorry, yeah, it changes its form depending on the weather, changes in temperature, humidity, appear to affect cellular structure. And I guess the truth that for me, you pay into this and it'll be there for you in bad times. I mean, cast form looks really happy and precious. It's in a little pool. I mean, look at it. I mean, well, it's like an adorable little baby tadpole thingy Pokemon. It's just really cute. And that's just not what it's there for. It's really there to make big insurance companies a ton of money. And when people really need them, they're not there for them. But again, why do we need them? Because we, to me, it's just my thoughts. You might believe differently, but we live in an extractive society that pulls things out. Safety net. We watch climate change happening before our eyes and think that the robots are going to fix it or technology will fix it. And there's some things maybe that technology can do, but if we continue these extractive practices, especially looking at the potential of only 100 harvests left, where are we going to be when there's no food? And I've listened to the audiobook for the Bloodlands, and it's truly horrific. I don't think we've known, most of us have known hunger. Unfortunately, there's people right now experiencing hunger, and it's unnecessary. It's completely unnecessary. And I think that's part of what strikes my rage. I mean, cast form just reminds me of the most innocent, wide eyed, precious something that we're supposed to protect and we're not. And paying insurance money is supposed to be for our protection, but it kind of seems like a racket. Like, you have a nice house here. It'd be a shame if a storm just decided to hit it. But why are the storms increasing? Because we keep doing things as humans that are messing up our environment. We're literally throwing off the balance of nature. Drink some water. Well, I still have the luxury of doing that. And so then, what do you feel called to protect at this moment? And we have the Psychic Energy Pokemon card. It's a purple card with a glowing comet purple sphere and a black stylized eye. For me, my peace of mind, my action, my sense of fairness, of right and wrong. I mean, that's a higher self. I just feel called to protect. I mean, it's not my job to protect, but just something bigger and outside of self. When I just see these systems that continue to harm myself and other human beings because they're not centered towards us, they're centered towards profit and just pulling out as much money as possible. And when I see these injustice and the harm it causes, and those that are causing the harm appear to just benefit from it and go away unscathed, it doesn't feel fair, FAIR. So that's what my vibes are from that one. And the final question from this one is, what should the world look like instead? And making the change again starts with having a vision of what that change can look like. I don't want to get the fighting Pokemon card right now. But here we go. It's a fighting energy Pokemon. It is like a comet down with this orange sphere and a black fist. And I'm not going to take that that's what the world should look like. I mean, but maybe, yeah, maybe we should have more resistance for the world. But again, what are we resisting for? What is it that we're trying to accomplish? What could be a different world? Because I personally, I'm tired. I know we have to fight, but I'm tired of it. And so then we get Marini, which is a psychic poison type Pokemon. This is like an octopus under the sea, kind of one eye peeking out, very sly. The poison sting, I don't know. This is not very promising for things to think about what the world should look like. I can't read this one. What's on the bottom of this? Sorry. They write this in such small print. It plunges the poison spike on, let me make this bigger. It plunges the poison spike on its head into its prey. When the prey has weakened, Marini deals the fatal blow with its 10 tentacles. I'm really not digging this very violent world. But, I mean, is it the end of the poisonous things that are happening to us? I mean, that could be something, but I don't know. I'm feeling this one, folks. Maybe you have a different interpretation of Marini. Um, it's underwater lurking. So, and we've been kind of talking about these hidden systems. So, would I like to be able to eradicate those kind of systems? Perhaps. I just don't like the vengeful part of it. I wish there was like a nicer way to do it. There we go. And then we get Jigglypuff. Jigglypuff is a fairy Pokemon and it's looking in awe at something, but actually with Jigglypuff, I think behind it is some mayhem going down, honestly, from what I can see in this card. Like there's a big lightning ball in the sky, and I actually don't think this is a happy scene. Sometimes we just can't fight what we're living with, no matter how much we want to disassociate and go into our happy place. It's just reality and just sitting with that. Um, a lot of people don't have a happy place to go to. They're not going to visualize themselves out of a genocide. So it's up to the rest of us to keep up the pressure, be led by the vision of something different, something free. I mean, I don't know what free looks like, but something where people are not the center because we're part of an ecosystem and we just now get a fire energy type. So again, like burning away the old paradigms, burning away the dross when you want to plant something, or nature has a way of burning away the old things so that new things can grow. It away underbrush, which sometimes chokes out other systems. So I mean, the future, whatever we're defining it as, is nuanced. It's not simple. It's not easy because, I mean, you have layers of harm. For example, I come from a colony, like I immigrated from one colony to another place that has subjugated the native people. My family came from a colonized place to a colonized, and then we moved to this country where we have basically tried to eradicate the indigenous people that live here. So I live on um, the Seminole Nation's land. They haven't kicked me out yet, but like, can you imagine if we want to go with original inhabitants? You know, what would that look like? Like, I personally don't want my house to be taken away because I like living here, but I have to sit with the fact that I am living on basically stolen land, even though I didn't steal it. So the way forward is not easy, but I think with all of us together being willing to listen and try and repair this harm together and build some together, we can do that. I don't have the answers. There are people way smarter than me. I just have ideas. Finally, we get something kind of cool, some rare candy, although this candy looks nuclear as far as I'm concerned. It's a blue ocean sphere. You know those old fashioned candies wrapped with the little things on the side? Like a hard candy. And this is a blue candy with a yellow background. And blue is to me about speaking up, and yellow is empowerment. So, talk about what that world looks like, what living together in harmony looks like. And it may be going back to older, more sustainable ways. Because honestly, I love technology. It's really cool that I have made friends all over the world that I never would have met without the advent of technology. But is it has a cost. We have all these servers to keep us connected. It takes a lot of power to run them. It takes energy. And where does that energy come from? Is it sustainable? The tech companies that we rely on to give us all these cool things like phones and computers, all of those are run using cobalt, which is mined on the back of children. And that is absolutely cool. So, at one point, do we disregard our comfort because there's a different way out there? Like, I was watching, I don't want to make it a scene spoiler, so I'll see how I can talk about this scene without talking about it. So, imagine that you are all going to do something fun. Okay, this actually did happen to me. We were on vacation and wanted to do axe throwing, and realized that the youngest was too young. Now, can you imagine just telling our youngest child, "Here, just sit by yourself, and we'll all go axe throwing, and you can't come"? You wouldn't do. Who does that? But people did that. They're like, well, we want to have fun. If you can't have fun, I mean, that's really sad. But like, we'll tell you about the fun versus, look, if they can't have fun, we're not going to have fun. We'll do something else. That's a different way to think about situation. And maybe I'm naive. I don't think so. I don't know what I would do in those times. But other people have stood up and defied what they see as wrong. That takes courage. So we get the dark energy Pokemon card. There are a lot of underlying systems and currents at play. Again, it might not even just be man made systems, it is the ecological systems and just us animals. Like we try and think that we're human, but we're just another animal. We are just another animal. We can be impacted by hunger and our environment around us, different colors, media, words, propaganda. So many things can impact us, and we're not aware of it. I mean, I'm having these lives, and I probably have an agenda. I would like people to see what it's like to work with me and hire me, but I'm also trying to not exploit people and open minded and curious about situations. There's things like who sees your content, right? Those are some of the systems that are out there. Many of my fellow creators are so frustrated because they put in all this work and nobody sees their content, or very few people compared to what their reach is. There's also just systems of inequality. I was watching John Oliver's take on the Supreme Court, and they have written an exclusion, apparently, according to this show, for themselves, so they can accept gifts and whatever and not have punishment. But that doesn't, that's like the fox watching the chicken coop. So continue to pay attention to the underlying systems. So it's not just about making utopia, right? Look at, it's Black History Month, and we've had examples of Black excellence. We've had Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Greenwood. I mean, there's been so many times where Black people have built things for themselves. And what happens? The systems tear it down. It tear it down and nobody suffers for it. So it's not just about building physical things. You have to deal with the underlying structures that continue to produce these outcomes. I mean, it's 2024 and we're still seeing these things happen today. We're still seeing Black people being shot with impunity. We're still seeing, we just had Nix, I don't remember their last name. I'm sorry, I'm not good at names. That was beaten, and they're trying to say that they can't tell that harm was done. Are you kidding me? Like, these are the systems that produce those outcomes. Things that you and I look at and see, like, how is this not? In Florida, we have a stand your ground law. And I guess it's only stand your ground if you're white, because I think her name was Crystal in Jacksonville. Of course, it's Jacksonville. She had a restraining order against her boyfriend, and he came to her house and she shot a warning shot in her garage, if I'm not mistaken. And guess who went to jail? Not him. No, not him. Her. Who didn't shoot anything. She shot a wall. Right? So these systems produce these barbaric outcomes. And those are some of the things that we're fighting for. So I still haven't found what our new world looks like. And it just continues. It's another dark energy Pokemon card fighting against, like, Rage Against the Machine. Some of them that work forces are the same that burn crosses. So how to get to a place of joy and empowerment? And I think some of that is just, again, interrogating the role that we play in these systems, interrogating when we are willing, and this we is me too, to not be comfortable and shut it down to make something different. So we got a water energy Pokemon card. This is a blue card with a glowing blue sphere and a water droplet, but lately this just seems like a literal comet coming down, splashing, like if a big giant ball of water came down, that would wash everything away. I'm getting like clean slate vibes, doing new things. We've already burned away the things, so now we're watering new ideas, new paradigms, new ways of doing things. Like, I was listening to Sharon Hurley Hall and Sam Chavez podcast, and Sharon's talking about how they do things at Mission Equality, which doesn't have, it's a no rush culture. Like, well, there's fields that you need a rush, like, firefighters or doctors and things like that. But again, why are they like that? And I think it is because the environment we've set up is so extractive, and this cult of productivity makes everything urgent. But what if, like, hospitals were properly staffed and the nurses didn't have to work these ridiculous shifts? That would make it a less hectic place. We had a society where people's basic needs were taken care of, there would probably be less people having disease. If you had food, shelter, clean water, the things that sustain us, we would probably have a reduction of mental illnesses and other health issues because people would have access to good food, um, not be in toxic smog environments. That I absolutely think makes a difference in our lives. So I guess I'm defining the world by what we don't want it to be. And then we get Chestnut, which is, I guess, the OG Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. This is a very angry tortoise or turtle with a spiked shell. It's a grass Pokemon type. And it's almost like, for me, nature is fighting for itself. Like, can you imagine if nature just rose up against us, which in some ways it is with these increased hurricanes and tornadoes and storms, when it takes a defensive posture with its fist guarding its face, it could withstand a bomb blast. And when we have actually eradicated ourselves, the world will grow back around us. It'll be new and different, but I would like to be part of the future world. But I don't know, right now, humans are acting like the biggest parasites of them all. And I'm one of them, right? I'm a human. So again, we get fire energy again, burn it all down, burn down these systems that are not helpful to people. So I guess I'm defining what the future world looks like by it doesn't look like this. It's not necessarily the complete opposite of this, but it look like this. There's got to be something different than this. And I don't even know if we have nature as an example because we've messed with it so much. And it's really interesting. One of the interesting things in books were the 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 mycorrhizome fungal network. Like, it can use, I think it was an extract from walnut trees, and kind of feed it towards some tomatoes, which I guess are not friendly to the fungus or something like that. It was just really interesting. They have their own agendas as well, the fungus, and maybe it's to turn us all into plant zombies. I have no idea. That was from another friend of mine. Uh, yeah. So that was tonight's session. I just have more questions than answers. I don't have a shiny happy world. I just know it's got to be different than what we have now. Here we go. We'll close with Brion. Brion is like if Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer was a seal. It's splashing in the water, clear, clean water. Happy, eyes are blue. It's very fruitful, not fruitful. It looks like a great place to be. So I'll end you on that positive note. Play is important. We can still use our imaginations to envision a different world, get creative about it, because what we have now is not working. It's not sustainable. But I believe that we can come up with different things. Listen to our youth, listen to the children. They When you involve children in building societies, they things that involve nature, involve play, is more organic and sustainable, is more inclusive. So embrace your inner child and think about those things when you were little that people thought were impossible. But there's so many things that children have dreamed about and they've come true. And maybe, again, I'm naive, but I'm going to believe that we can do this. So I'm rooting for us. I'm fighting for us. I hope you are too. I will close by taking a deep breath in and exhale. Deep breath in and exhale. Deep breath in and exhale. Have a great rest of your day, night, or afternoon.